Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. I'm not a big fan of vaccines anyway. I never take them anyway, so whatever the story is, but just whatever. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Everyone has to make their own decisions in their lives. So, Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Deving Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiriye. Before reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should first offer our respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master. Nama Om Vishnu Budaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivesesha Sunyavadi. So we're continuing with this chapter 4 in Canto 3. This is text 27. Shri Sukho Vacha Iti Saha Vidurena Vishwamurtir Iti Saha I'm going to read the whole line. Iti Saha Vidurena Vishwamurtir Guna Kathaya Sudaya Plavitoruta Tapa. Let's see. It's Plavit Uru Tapa. Gunakata Sudaya Plavitoru Tapa. Tapa. Shanam Iva Pulena Jamasvasus Tam Shanam Iva Pulena Jamasvasnus Tam Shanam Iva Pulena Jamasvasus Tam Samustita. See, let me see where it is. Gavir Nisham Tato Gat Samusita Apagavir Nisham Tato Gat Samusita Apagavir Shri Sukha Uvacha Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurtir Gunakataya Sudhaya Plavitor Tapa Shanam Niva Pulina Jamasvasustam Samusita Aupagavir Apakavir Nisham Tatogat
Samusita Aupagavir Nisham Tatogat
Shri Sukha Uvacha Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurtir Gunakataya Sudhaya Plavitoru Tapa Shanam Miva Pulena Yamas Svasustam Samusita Aupagavir Nisham Tato Gat Someone else?
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Kataya Sudhaya Plavitorutapa
Gunakataya Sudhaya Plavitorutapa
Kshanam Iva Puline Yamas Vasustam Samushita Opagavir Vishvam Tatogat
Samushita Opagavir Vishvam Tatogat
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Gunakataya Sudhaya Plavitorutapa
Gunakataya Sudhaya Plavitorutapa
Shanam Miva Purine Yamasvasustam
Shanam Purina Yamasvasustam
Samushita Aupagavir Nisham Tatogat
Samusita Aupagavir Nisham Tatogat
Shri Sukha Vacha Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte Gunakataya Suraya Plavitorutapa Sanamiva Puline Yamasvasustam Samasita Aupagavir Nisham Tatogat Samusita Aupagavir Nisham Tatogat Sorry.
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Iti Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte
Gunakataya Suraya Plavitorutapa
Gunakataya Suraya Plavitorutapa
Nivapulena Yamavasustam Samushita Opagavir Nisham Tatogat
Shri Sukha Uvacha Saha Vidurena Vishvamurte Gunakataya
Anyone else? So the word for word is Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said. Iti. Thus. Saha. Along with. Vidorena. Vidura. Vishvamurte. Of the universal person. Guna Kataya. In the discourse of transcendental qualities. Suraya. Nectarine. Plavita Urutapa. It's like three separate. Overwhelmed by great affliction. Shanam. Moment. Iva. Like that. Puline. On the bank of. Jamas Vasu. River Jamuna. Samusita. Passed on. Ao Bhagavi. The son of Abhagava. Uddhava. How is that? Nisham. The night. Tata. Thereafter. Agat. Went on. So the translation is Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, after thus discussing with Vidura the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., on the bank of the Jamuna, Uddhava was overwhelmed with great affliction. He passed the night as if it were a moment, and thereafter he went away. Please repeat. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, after thus discussing with Vidura, the transcendental name, fame, qualities, etc., on the bank of the Jamuna, Uddhava was overwhelmed with great affliction. He passed the night as if it were a moment. And thereafter he went away. So this is after Uddhava has advised Vidura that it wouldn't be proper. Vidura requested that he discuss what he had heard from Krishna. And he said, well, I'm younger than you, but my tray is just down on the bank further down. And he's senior to you, and you're senior to me, so it would be more appropriate if you went and spoke with him, because he just heard the same thing I did. So that's but now they're spending this last evening together, and they're immersed in discussing the pastimes and glories of the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The word used here for Krishna is Vishvamurti. Both Uddhava and Vidura were in great affliction because of Lord Krishna's departure. And the more they discussed the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord, the more the picture of the Lord became visible to them everywhere. Such visualization of the transcendental form of the Lord is neither false nor imaginary, but is factually absolute truth. When the Lord is perceived as Vishvamurti, it is not that he loses his personality or transcendental eternal form, but he becomes visible in the same form everywhere. This is packed. This purport is just filled with so many. So when Srila Prabhupada, in the early days, he would talk to the devotees and he would say, when you see a tree, you should see Krishna. What does that mean? You see Krishna. You see his external energy, you see the marginal energy within, the super soul. In other words, Prabhupada was always talking about Shastra Chakshus. You see everything through the eyes of Shastra, as the eyes of a philosopher. So, but then, also, I heard Prabhupada on the morning walk, and I believe he was in Mayapur at the time, And he's saying that, I forget what the question and answer was about, but Prabhupada started saying that the super soul is within every atom, not just within the hearts of every living entity, within every atom, and in between every atom. And he said, just like this road, Krishna is within every atom and in between every atom. So this means, what does this mean? We are walking on super soul. You should meditate like this, Prabhupada said. You should think like this. This chair, Krishna is within every atom and in between every atom. He's supporting me. It's all very mystical when you start to think about it through the eyes of Shastra. Now, when they're speaking here, what is it that when this Vishwamurti, is it like the Vishwamurti of the universal form that Arjuna said? No, it says specifically here that it's the universal person. It says person. Now, of course, according to one's state of realization of Krishna, it could be, and it can't be Brahmajyoti because we're talking person. So it could be a four-arm form of like super soul. Are they seeing Krishna playing the flute? Whatever they're seeing, or they're just seeing like Leela Smarna. They're seeing, like the Prabhupada used to give the example of a mother who's seeing the pastimes of their child when they see the toys or the shoe when he was an infant. Now he's a grown man, but I see his baby shoe and I think of those days. So in that way, and that type of realization or that type of seeing is also because the Lord is not different from his pastime. The Lord is not different from these so apparent like memories of those pastimes. Leela Smarna. That is you're seeing. Just like this service that Siddhanta Prabhu was doing of mining the minds and memories of the devotees who had some association with Srila Prabhupada. And you can see a lot of times these devotees, when they're speaking, they're in that moment, they're in that, they're there, they're seeing that. And you get that sense of that. So here, Vidura and Uddhava, they so much absorbed. Uddhava just was with Krishna. And Krishna just described, it's Uddhava Gita, which is going to come up in the 11th canto. So we have a lot to look forward to. But, and Maitreya happened to be overhearing it. Vidura just happens by. Everybody's just happening along here. Coming curiously, crossing paths. And, like I've often thought about like that. I just want going off on a slight tangent, but that moment, Harigriva, the famous moment of Harigriva, everybody always talks about, he's walking down the road, he sees this Indian man. Are you from India? Very obvious question with an obvious answer, but that moment, how many lifetimes did it take for that moment to come to pass? And I heard him say once that, what a fool, what a stupid question. And here I am meeting my guru. But actually even before Harigriva met Prabhupada, Mukunda is the one, Mukunda Maharaj. He's the unsung hero of ISKCON. He's people don't speak about him much, but what he did is get the first temple and the apartment for Prabhupada. Then he went out to San Francisco and got that all organized, that mantra rock thing. That was huge. All those hippies, on LSD, but they're all chanting Hare Krishna, completely, all these big rock bands, famous names, it really gave it a kickstart, it gave it a boost. And Mukunda was involved with that, and then he went to London. And he's the one who actually organized those like Govinda Madhipusham, that's his arrangement. I think he got some help with one or two of the Beatles, but he originally had these things all worked out already, and they were rehearsing. They were a full-on, working unit musically. He had arranged that. He was a musician in the Lower East Side. It wasn't his style of music. He was a jazz musician, but that was his forte. So he has done a lot for Srila Prabhupada in this movement. So, but that's not, I just, it wasn't what I was planning on speaking about. But so this concept of Vishwamurti and seeing Krishna through pastimes, and it just goes by in a moment. For instance, this discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam we say 7 days, but I don't know if it was a full 7 days, because there was maybe a day or two of finding Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Bricket meeting, and there was a little bit at the end where he goes off to see his mother, Maharaj Bricket that is. So no food, no water, just listening, and the time just passes like there's no time. It's just pure, it's constantly increasing, and he wants to know more and more. And Sukadev Goswami, but these questions are enlivening me. And his answers to Maharaj Bricket is enlivening him. And then he asks more questions, and it's on and on increasing. So all night long they're speaking Vidura and Uddhava. And it kind of reminds me of a pastime with Nanda Maharaj and Uddhava. And I recently, I thought of it yesterday, and I listened to Prabhupada, on the database or on Desire Tree, you could hear Prabhupada speaking that chapter. And he just, it's not like he's reading it, he says paragraph, and then he speaks the next chapter. And he's telling the whole story. So Nanda Maharaj had just returned from Mathura for the installation of Ugrasena after Krishna had killed Kamsa. And he returns to Vrindavan. And you have to understand, right before that, of course, we know that Akura had come and taken Krishna and Balaram because Kamsa had wanted them to come, and the gopis were furious. They were just so upset. They were blocking the horses. They even cursed Akura, and he had to pay a price. They were so upset. Everyone was upset. It was like taking out their heart. They was their whole lives were centered on Krishna, seeing Krishna, hearing his flute. Well, now he's gone. But he promised to come back after he took care of business in Mathura. He did that. That's why Ugrasena was being installed. But only Nanda and the men of Vrindavan and the cowherd boys went to Mathura. So the gopis and Mother Jasoda are all thinking, all the other mothers are thinking, oh, Krishna's going to be back. He's promised he was coming back. We're going to see Krishna. And they see Nanda Maharaj, they see the cowherd men, they see the cowherd boys, but they don't see Krishna or Balaram. And of course, there's a lot of discussion about how Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, and so there's some acharyas that say that actually he was always there in the bhava form, which and I'm not advanced enough to discuss these things, but I can only speak on my level of realization, and that's very low. But the more you read and hear, like as yesterday's class was discussed, this is a pop quiz. What was yesterday's class discussion? You don't get it, sir. Has anyone? Huh?
Change?
It was about something else.
Etiquette.
Yeah,
What?
transgression of
What? No, that's not. No. What?
Yeah.
No, it's about practicing the science. Jnana Vigyan, correct? That was the main theme. This is the science that we're practicing. Applying it, right. So we hear it, and we...
More Vaishnava etiquette.
What? Vaishnava, I'm talking, I took for this purpose.
You just can't know the theory, but you must also, apply the techniques of the theory.
Right, so I'm only speaking what I've heard. Maybe I have some slight realizations in terms of separation from Prabhupada, but I can't understand the feelings of the gopis. I can read and hear it and repeat it, but by the process of practicing and hearing it and discussing with others, I can possibly enter into that some time down the road. But now I'm not going to try to present myself as someone I'm not. So, but here, so the gopis are very upset. So now Krishna understands. He's thinking about the gopis. The gopis are thinking about Krishna, and Krishna is thinking about them, which is in the Bhagavad Gita. And so he decides, he's concerned that if he personally comes back there, then these people like Kalyavana and Jarasandha and Dantavakra, these his other enemies, those associates of Kamsa, they will come after him and disturb the mood of the Vrindavan village and the cows, and upset the cows and the calves and his friends and the gopis. He doesn't want them to be disturbed. So he must stay and continue his mission. So he decides to send Uddhava, who looks exactly like Krishna. He's actually, Uddhava's father is Vasudev's brother. I don't remember his name, it begins with a B. And so he has all the same appearance, features, and Krishna sends him, and he gets there at the end of the day, just as the sun is going down, and he sees all these white cows running, filled with milk bags, and the calves, they're actually chasing the calves, and the calves are frolicking, the bulls are in rut. He hears all the sounds of the birds singing, and the bees humming, the aroma of all the flowers. There's lotus flowers in the ponds or the lakes, and the dust is being kicked up onto his chariot. His chariot is golden. The whole atmosphere is so charged with the songs in glorification of Krishna, and it's purifying the whole atmosphere. So, and he immediately goes to Nanda's house. He's a little concerned about approaching Nanda, always being sent, because Nanda is his superior, but he knows this is, and Nanda immediately comes to greet him and has him sit down. And then in the etiquette that we were talking about, as you mentioned, I forgot that part of the class. I was only thinking about the applied part of the class. But he has a nephew bathe Uddhava's feet, because he's senior to Uddhava, and he's the same age as Uddhava's father, I suppose, and maybe even older. And so he has a nephew. That's the proper etiquette. A younger person bathes his feet. And then immediately Nanda Maharaj is asking, so you have come with a message from Krishna and Balaram? Are they coming? Are they coming back? Do they often talk of Vrindavan and their friends here, the cowherd boys, and his mother Jasoda? Does he think of the cows and the calves? Does he ever talk of these days when he was here? When he was here, he freed us from fire, a torrential rain, all these demons like Aristasura, there was Trinavarta, there was Bakasura, there was the Nakasura, Agasura, so many suras. And he went and he danced on the hoods of Kaliya's serpent and purified the lakes in Jamuna that was being polluted by this huge poisonous serpent. He would play with all of his cowherd friends, and he lifted the hill of Govardhan. He did all of these things. They must be, Krishna and Balaram must be some very special, like powerful demigods. Gagamuni has told me something about them. And he's in so much meditation, speaking all these pastimes, thinking about these. He's absorbed in Leela Smaranam, and he's becoming so overwhelmed, it's getting hard for him to speak Mother Jasoda is sitting by his side. She says nothing, but she's so attentive to his words, and tears are flowing from her eyes. And Uddhava is seeing how much love they have for Krishna. Now, I missed one point. Uddhava had just finished. Now, after Krishna and Balaram killed Kamsa, they were sent to an ashram of Sanapani Muni and finished their education. And then they came back, and at that same time, Uddhava was coming back from being educated by Brahaspati. So he's very learned, but Krishna thinks he needs a little more education. He needs to go and see the love of the gopis and the cowherd boys of Nanda and Jasoda. He needs to understand about real love. So he sends him on a mission to tell them that he is coming and he is always thinking of them. But gradually he's starting to understand they have so much love for Krishna. Now, Uddhava's thinking that Krishna is Narayan. And it's like Vasudeva and Sankarshan. And he says that, your boys, Krishna Balaram, that's Narayan. He's the seed of creation. You have nothing to fear. And Nanda says, I've heard that he killed this elephant. I heard he took a huge bow that was like 270 feet long. That calculation comes from Prabhupada. 3 palm trees equals approximately 270 feet. He broke it with one hand. He lifted a hill with one hand. He killed all these powerful demons while there. The 2 wrestlers. He's been doing all these things, and we're concerned there's other enemies that are friends or allies of Kamsa. What will happen? He says, don't you understand? You're Krishna and Balaram. They're not ordinary. This is Narayan. They don't seem to they're Krishna and Balaram. Anyway, I'm only giving a hint of that. But that night also, like the night with Vidura, passed like a moment while he was there with Jasoda and Nanda. Then gradually it's becoming Mangalartik Brahmaharta hours, and the gopis have gotten up to do Mangalartik, and he is doing his oblations, Uddhava. They don't know that he's here yet. And then they're starting to begin to churn the butter and yogurt, and they want to go, they usually go first thing in the morning to offer respects to Nanda and Jasoda, because they're the elders of the family, of the village. They want to go pay respects to the elders, and they see this chariot, and it looks a lot like a chorus. And they're thinking, what is he up to now? He can't do anything more to us. We are, now that Krishna and Balaram are here, we're dead bodies. He can't hurt us anymore. And then Uddhava walks out, and he looks just like Krishna. Now, who is this? And they immediately want to know what he has to tell them about Krishna. And they take him off to a secret place, and they speak with him. And that pastime you can read about or talk about some more. But the real interesting thing about this is that to show what transcendental love is, as opposed to lust or material, Uddhava looks exactly like Krishna. And if you think about it, Prabhupada doesn't talk about this, but that actually, in a sense, he had these girls. They think he looks like Krishna. He could try to, in some way, exploit that for something. But he's not. He's completely in love with Krishna. But they're more in love with Krishna. They're never thinking any kind of lustful thoughts. They're only thinking pure love. This is a great lesson to be learned. There's pure love. It's not anything like lust. That sometimes it slowly creeps in sahaja forms in this Vaishnava tradition. This is pure love. There is no lust Uddhava loves Krishna. He sees their love and how much they love, and what he is attracted to is their pure love for Krishna. He's not thinking in his own, neither party is thinking anything but Krishna. And what can you tell me about Krishna? And how can I, and they, again, they're entering, as they're talking, Radharani starts talking to a bumblebee, thinking it's a messenger from Krishna. She's completely in trance, thinking about Krishna. Everything is in relationship to Krishna. So, back to the original point, Prabhupada said, when you see a tree, you should think of Krishna. You see Krishna. Well, what do you mean see Krishna? How do you see Krishna? It gradually, you begin to understand. And again, it's based on your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is one verse, it's actually a prayer for protection, but Yatahi Bhagavani va vastutat sarasatya sachena nanena nasave yantu nasam upadava. It's in the 6th canto. And it means basically that the subtle and gross material energy is material, but the cause is Krishna. And Krishna is the cause of all causes, and the cause is present in the effect. So Krishna is present in all of his energies. And in the prayer, because he's present in the effect, he's also capable of protecting us in all situations. So, and also in the purport it says that each individual Krishna, that they're seeing, whatever that is, a super soul form, or how they're seeing Krishna, I can't say, but it says Vishwarupa, the universal person, but they are perfect and complete. Om Purnam Adat Purnamidam Purnam Purnam Udashate Purnasha Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Krishna is perfect and complete, and no matter how many perfect and complete units emanate from him, he remains perfect and complete. He doesn't lose himself in his creation. He doesn't diminish himself in any way. There was one so-called hippie guru who, one devotee told me he went to see him speak, and then somebody and he used to have what he called guards around his energy field. And somebody came up to start asking a question, and he thinks that this person is trying to steal his energy, trying to steal his potency. What kind of God are you that we can steal your potency? Krishna is perfect and complete. And no matter how many emanations come from him, they are also perfect and complete, and he still remains perfect and complete. So, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is basically what I believe is being discussed here in this part of the Bhagavatam. That Uddhava and Vidura were appreciating the perfect and complete personality of Godhead, the self-sufficient philosopher. And in Uddhava's case, he was a friend, but also he was like a superior. So they were like cousin brothers, sort of. So they had different relationships. Anyway, so does anyone have anything they'd like to add or subtract, multiply, divide? Anything?
What comes to my mind about the letter when I'm thinking of Krishna book? How Krishna explains that I'm always there, down on your heart, and that I'm saying my words a little bit, and you're sincere and unlike devotion to me, that I could never, what's the word? I could never give back what all the
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I can never repay you.
Repay, yeah.
That's what he tells the gopis. Your service is your payment. There's no way he feels that he can repay them. Yes?
And I was wondering, I wondered, is after Uddhava witnessed the gopis' love for Krishna, how did he apply that in his own life?
I'm not sure at this point. Yeah, I think he just became himself, and obviously the effect on him is his. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm sorry. You know, obviously he became more attached to him, and here he is at the end, and he can't bear the thought of him leaving. He's become so much more attached to him, and I mean, like, in other words, one thing is that, according to your questions, like sort of the way Brahma was affected by it. When Brahma saw this, when he came and stole the calves and cowherd boys, he was affected by the way that he wanted to become, to know this type of relationship with Krishna. He didn't want to just be in awe and reverence. And Uddhava, I don't have any knowledge of him thinking like that, but he's very overwhelmed with their love, and he has so much appreciation and respect for them, and he realizes that he himself, I know what he said, I remember now. He said, I wish I could take birth as some type of plant, so that near where the gopis are doing their collecting flowers, and that dust particles from their feet would drop on my head. That's how it affected him.
I wonder if that came true. I mean, did he have some expansion when he could be in litter grass?
I don't know, but he got a lot of other mercy he's actually at the end of Krishna's life. This is the last person that we know that he spoke to.
Now, Madhavi said it did happen.
Well, no, I didn't say that it did happen.
Oh.
What I meant was that your desire, that Krishna fulfills your desire.
Yeah.
There are other forms that you can take in the spiritual world. You don't have to just be one.
Like the hills, right?
Yeah.
The different demigods wanted to be a certain.
Yeah, but the thing is, the Prabhupada said that for that's in the Santa Rasa, the plant is like a tree. It's a neutral position. Prabhupada said that that's not normally for the intimate associates of the Lord. My understanding is, and he did get the dust particles. He was there with them, and he got the association with Krishna, and was now he received a message from the Lord. I think we just read it, or were about to read it. It was like a message within his heart that he should go to Badarikaksham and spend time there and discuss with those there about what he heard from Krishna. And instead of spending time there with Vidura, because Vidura was senior to him in age. So he was sent off to Badarikaksham. Of course, Badarikaksham is Narayan and Vyasadev, but that was what Krishna wanted. He wanted them to be informed that he had left his terrestrial pastimes, and that the preparation for this. One thing I was thinking about recently is that it's a little off topic, but all of this is like season, just like seasons. Nothing anyone can do can destroy or stop the changing of seasons. So no matter what mistakes have been made since Prabhupada's left, the seasons will change and things will be wonderful. I'm convinced of that.